Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about why every Don starts as a nobody. Now, I used to believe that it was all about family connections. See, when I first got started, I thought if you knew the right people, then you could get in the door. And even if you didn't know the right people, if your last name was the right name, you could make it. So for example, if you were a Smith or a Johnson, you could make it. If you had a common name like Williams or Jones, forget about it. But now, after years of study and years of learning from other people, I realized that this is not what it's about at all. This is not how it works. So let me explain. When I say Don, I don't mean just any Don. I mean the 2% of the 1%. We're talking about the upper echelons of high society. Think people like Rupert Murdoch, Conrad Black, John Katzmatidze, Leslie Wexner, Harold Hamm, Woody Johnson, John Paulson, Len Blavatnik, Henry Kravis, George Marcus, Robert Mercer, John Katzmatidze. These are the people that made it to the top of the mountain. The easiest way to describe them would be to call them business moguls. But that doesn't really do them justice, because some of these men are considered to be the most powerful people in the world. So let's go through a few of their stories and see what we can learn. First off, we have Rupert Murdoch, who founded News Corporation. His father was a wealthy businessman, so Rupert wasn't born poor by any means. However, he did start out working class. He worked his way up from being an office boy to eventually taking over the family business. Next, we have Conrad Black. Now, he was born into poverty, and he worked his way up to becoming one of the most powerful media moguls in the world. Next, we have John Katzmatidze, who built one of the largest privately held businesses in America from scratch. His story is nothing short of amazing. His father was an immigrant who came over with very little money and worked as a taxi driver to support his family. Now here's the thing. Every single person that I just mentioned started out as a nobody. They weren't born into wealth. They weren't born into power. They weren't born into privilege. In fact, most of them were born into poverty or the working class. But they all share one thing in common. They all worked their way up from the bottom. They all started out as nobodies, but they became somebody. So what does this tell us? It tells us that there is no such thing as a self-made man. Now, I know that you've heard this before, but I want you to think about this for a second. How many times have you heard somebody say, "I'm a self-made man"? Well, let me tell you something. There's no such thing as a self-made man. Every single person that you meet has been helped by somebody along the way. Maybe it was their parents. Maybe it was a mentor. Maybe it was a teacher. Everybody has been helped by somebody along the way. And yes, there are exceptions to every rule, but they are the exception, not the norm. Most successful people have a network of people that help them along the way. And I'm not just talking about their inner circle either. I'm talking about everybody that they know. You never know where you might find help. So it's important to stay connected with everybody. You see, when I first got started, I was like most people. I thought that the only people that mattered were the people in my inner circle. I thought that if I could just get a few close friends to help me, then I would be set. But I couldn't have been more wrong. When I first got started, I had 2 business partners. I thought that all I needed was 2 friends to help me and I would be set. But I soon realized that this was not the case. I needed more than just 2 friends to help me. I needed everybody that I knew to help me. That meant staying in touch with my family, my friends, my classmates, my coworkers, my boss, my subordinates, everybody. I remember calling up a former classmate of mine and asking him for $500,000. Now, keep in mind, I had only known this guy for a few months. We hadn't spoken in years. But I called him up and I asked him for $500,000, and he gave it to me. Why? Because we went to school together. He felt a sense of loyalty towards me, because we had a shared history. Here's another example. A few years ago, I was speaking at an event, and there was a guy in the audience who was very interested in what I had to say. After the event, he came up to me and introduced himself. He told me that he was a writer, and that he wanted to write a story about my company. I was like, cool, no problem. So I gave him some information about my company, and I sent him on his way. A few weeks later, I saw a story about my company in a major publication. The writer had written a fantastic story, and it did a great job of telling the story of my company. But there was one thing that he left out. He left out the fact that he had been given a ton of information by me. See, he didn't have to go through all the hard work of figuring out our business model. He didn't have to interview our employees. He didn't have to talk to our customers. I gave him all the information that he needed. and he still wrote a great story. Why? Because we have a shared history. I gave him a chance and he took advantage of it. Let me tell you another story. A few years ago, I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and he told me that he was looking for a new apartment. He said that he couldn't find anything that met his criteria. Shh. So I told him, hey, I know this guy, Benny. Benny knows everything about the real estate market in the city. He'll be able to find you the perfect apartment. My friend was skeptical, but he agreed to meet with Benny. They met for coffee and Benny showed them a few apartments. My friend ended up renting one of the apartments, and he loved it. Couldn't believe how Benny was able to find the perfect apartment for him. Benny didn't know anything about my friend, but he still put in the work to find him the perfect apartment. Why? Because we have a shared history. Benny owes me a favor. These are just a few examples of how having a network of people that you can rely on is essential to your success. The best part is that it's not that hard to build a network like this. All you need to do is be helpful to people, and they will be there for you when you need them. Think about it. Who are the people that you would want to have in your corner if you were in a fight? It's not the people that you met last week. It's the people that you've been training for years. Those are the people that you want in your corner. And the same thing applies to business. But here's the key. You have to be willing to help people before you need their help. It's how you build trust. It's how you build relationships. By being there for people when they need you, not for yourself. So what's the takeaway here? If you want to become a Don, if you want to be one of the most powerful people in the world, you need to understand that it's not about being born into wealth. It's not about being born into power. It's not about being born into privilege. It's about working your way up from the bottom. It's about starting out as a nobody and becoming somebody. And the only way to do that is by building a network of people that can help you along the way. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thank you for watching.